Okay, so let's move over to another thing that is tightly connected to cavalry, and that I already mentioned, is the charge mechanics. So charge mechanics, in my opinion at least, which is a very redundant thing to say, because everything I say is in my opinion, dear viewers. And just because I don't insert in my opinion, doesn't mean I state it as an absolute truth. So anyway, charge mechanics are not in a very good spot at the moment, where you've got ridiculous situations where, for example, as, let's say, Kenane cavalry player versus Alexander cavalry player, you use your rapid advance, you outmaneuver the Alexander player, you catch him off guard, you charge him from the side, you charge him from far away because you see him, you cannot dodge your charge, you've got everything perfectly lined up, you outplayed him completely, you press the charge button, charge him, let's say from 3 seconds away, and Alexander just presses wedge, hammer, charges in a random direction and wins the charge anyway. Because he started charging like half a second before impact, while Kenane started charging 3 seconds before impact. But just because Alexander has a higher impact charge impact because of his wedge, he wins. Doesn't matter the direction, doesn't matter the timing, doesn't matter anything. He just wins.
The problem though with Alexander is his wedge formation. Like otherwise it wouldn't be a problem at all. It's only the wedge formation. Because you can't get an angle, even like if he doesn't change direction and you charge at him, like from the side, let's say from the side, because it's a wedge formation, you still get charged, or like you still get hit by a couple of his models. But like if you have a Germanicus, for example, it doesn't really matter. Like there's not really a negative impact.
No, I think there is. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Because I don't play melee that much, although I play a fair bit of cavalry. And also a fair bit of infantry. I play pretty much everything apart from artillery. But let's have the same situation, just with infantry. Let's say barbarian infantry, which is low charge impact, versus heavy Roman infantry, which is a very high charge impact.
Yep.
And you can have a ridiculous situation where the barbarians charge Germanicus from the back, directly from the back, and Germanicus charges, like tries to charge away from them, right? But the few units that collide, and essentially barbarians did charge Germanicus in the ass, Germanicus still wins that charge, just because charge impact. It sometimes happens. Maybe if it's directly from the back, it
never
maybe doesn't
happened
happen.
to me.
Okay.
Never happened to me.
But if it happens at an angle, like 90-degree angle or other, like 270-degree angle, you hit him from back somehow, but not entirely from the back, kind of from the side. The way it gets calculated is just ridiculous. And also, I think the charge impact should be more based on from when you started charging. So make it about skill, because if you charge from further away, it is easier to see, you have more time to dodge. But if the player lands the charge anyway, even if the charge lasted 5 seconds and he charged the enemy from 5 seconds away, he should get a huge reward, right? Because he hit that charge from 5 seconds away.
No.
But, well, let's say you charge frontally, right? Just cavalry versus cavalry. One cavalry charges from 5 seconds away, the other just starts charge 1 second away. So if that 1 second charging cav has a higher charge impact, it will still win the charge, despite charging for only 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, which, in my opinion, is wrong thing to do. Because, it either had 4 seconds to dodge, right? And you dodge, and then you charge, and the other guy cannot dodge because he doesn't have charge, for example. And the distance is much closer. Right, so you cannot play it that way. But if you don't do that and you just take the charge head on, but much later, well, then you were late. You kind of slept and you should be punished. But doesn't matter the skill. I have higher charge impact. I picked a better unit, so I win.
It's true. Yeah,
so it should be more skill based.
No, I can go give you an example. Okay, so you have Roman heavy infantry and Germanicus as commander. And you know that fucking Germanicus has the highest charge.
Yeah, he charges everything pretty much, even including cavalry.
Yeah.
Correct.
So And I
Which
have,
is
for
another
example, like
ridiculous
some
thing.
yeah, and I have, for example, some Foxes and a Boudica as commander, who also has a charge, like a 6-second charge. Like in the old version of the game, nowadays it's like 5 to 4 seconds, depending on like what talents you pick, but doesn't really matter. And I can't win a charge against the Germanicus, so what do I have to do? Like, I try to bait out his charge. I try to basically align my units and approach him in a way that he thinks that I'm gonna charge at any moment, or that I seem weak to him. Like, he's gonna say, "Oh, this guy is stupid. He's walking like a fucking baby. I'm gonna charge his ass if he just moves a little bit further in that direction he's moving in." And that's gonna happen, and he's gonna charge. I'm gonna see it because I'm gonna anticipate the charge. I'm gonna dodge it, and his charge is gone, and I still have my charge left. And the same is true for like cavalry.
That's exactly the situation I described.
Yeah, but I still have less charge impact than him.
Yeah, but you either outplay the enemy by baiting out his charge and then charging yourself. But if you actually, if there is not a situation like that, if both players decide to charge, it should be more about who charged sooner rather than
it is
just your. No, it's not. If you're Boudica, well, maybe Boudica is not a good example because she also has a very high charge impact, right? But Miltiades, let's say, he's all about charging as well, but he has very low charge impact. So if Miltiades
because it's like
charges a Germanicus and Miltiades charges him, from very far away, he gets maximum speed, maximum impact. Even if Germanicus just barely reacts to it, barely sees the player, but just turns half a second, he just needs half a second to react, to turn and charge, and then he still wins.
Yeah, but isn't it like, I guess, like normal? Because like you have like Miltiades, who has a charge on a really short cooldown. He's pretty fast as well, and his charge is dog shit. Everyone knows his charge is dog shit, except against like slingers and shit. So he's gonna not deal as much damage as like a normal charge commander, like Boudica, Alexander, Germanicus, Scipio. Like, take whatever commander you want, because Miltiades is more like about mobility. It's like I have to close that fucking gap to get my hoplites in position, and then I'm going into phalanx, and not like I'm gonna charge the unit in the ass and deal 50% of his HP as damage, So I think
we agree on how the game works, we just disagree on how it should work.
Yeah, but one sec.
So I mean, developers will have to pick what they think is better, and I think the skill-based charge is more important than having a statistic-based charge.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's stupid. Like, oh, I win because I have better stats instead of, oh, I win because I actually outplayed you.
Yeah, but that's like in normal. I'm just going to finish like one more point, and then someone can take over. But for example, you have tier 10 matches, right? At tier 10, everyone agrees tier 10 is the end game, and you want to play tier 10. Like, if you can, I guess.
Unless you're a Celta.
Yeah, so you have tier 10 units, and you have charge impact on different units and commanders. There's only a handful of commanders that can actually ignore like any other unit, no matter what their charge impact is. And that is basically Alexander and Germanicus. That's basically it. And even those you can sometimes outmaneuver. But how it currently works in the game is if your charge impact is like 10 or 15% lower than the enemy's charge impact, you're always going to lose your fucking charge. But if they're like within those like 10 to 15%, whoever charges first wins the charge. So you have that element that you describe already in the game, but it's just for like a smaller margin of charge impact values across the units. And I actually have a Google Excel table that has like
not the spreadsheets, not the spreadsheets.
Yeah,
no.
You know the spreadsheet, and I like it. I mean, you know, okay, I can charge that unit, and I'm gonna win no matter what. So he has to play smarter to outplay me. The other way around.
Yeah, my point is that if such a discrepancy is present at 50% that you mentioned, right? First of all, most players won't be able to calculate that or remember all the stats, which is that's why one of the reasons why it's stupid, right? But it just removes one way of outplaying it, and it's like, oh, there's only one way I can outplay him instead of two ways I can outplay him, which is true for most of unit interactions, right? And then you expect, oh, I outplayed, 50% of players that way by charging sooner and then just taking the charge head on, but then suddenly it doesn't work against a specific unit commander combo.
Yes. But isn't that like how it's supposed to be? Like, I mean, it's a different commander, so you have to engage the person differently. Maybe he has different gear or different talents, so you have to engage him differently. You don't see his talents, you don't see his gear, but they still have an impact in the game. And you have to anticipate that. It's like a surprise moment, basically. Like, it's not like 100% all known values are in the game.
I'm 50-50 on that. Because, you need to be aware of what your, that's also part of the skill. Just clicking on the unit and looking up, okay, it's Germanicus, I need to play around him that way. If it's Sula, I need to play around him that way. But just having that stupid tipping point with the 50%, 15%, as you mentioned, not a big fan of that.
Okay, I like it.
Also, another charge mechanic that I don't like, it's also connected to charge impact, right? So I'll just change how it works. So we've talked about archers, how you charge an archer unit as a cavalry player. You run through the unit because you have enough charge impact to just run through the entire unit. And you don't kill anybody in that unit, right? They all take equal damage, all take, let's say, 80% of their HP, but after getting charged, they're all still alive. The damage is still the same, which, in my opinion, is wrong. So I would change the charge impact to also affect the damage that you deal. So at the beginning of the charge, you deal the most damage, and then as your charge impact gets lowered and lower and lowered by the enemy charge deflect, so as you plow through more and more rows of the enemy units, your damage also drops. So it would lead to a situation where, let's say, 15 out of 60, so 25% of the archer units, of the archer soldiers in the unit gets killed. Then another 15 take 80% of the damage. Another 15 soldiers, 25%, take 60% of damage, and the last 15 soldiers take 40% of damage, right? So let's say there were a unit with 4 rows. Obviously, archers have more rows, so that will be, scaled between more rows, but you get the overall idea, right? So if the unit gets 4 rows, it all depends on the charge deflect, charge impact, charge damage, but you just come up with a very simple formula and you go with it. But instead, charge impact and charge damage are just completely two disconnected statistics, right? And mechanics, which shouldn't be the case. They should be connected. Well, I just said what I just said. How?
Yeah, but it's even easier than what you said. It's really fucking easy, because right now it is like if you charge an enemy unit, you lose charge impact for each unit you hit, right? So just like correlate that with the charge damage. Yeah. Or the other way around, which I personally like more, is increase the charge damage of cavalry, so they can actually kill the first couple of rows of enemy archers like instantly, but as soon as you charge them. But then you lose the charge impact and the charge damage, so like the other 80% of the squad will only get knocked down but not killed, or like take damage, get knocked down but not killed.
But you can do that with the current mechanics of them not being connected.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what you said is actually a good fix.
They'll just wipe out the unit 100-0 in that case. Instead of wiping out half the unit and dealing some damage to the other half, you need to tweak the charge deflect and charge impact in such a way that they would just run through half of the unit and it would kill half the unit, and the other half they would just stop. And then the cavalry couldn't charge through the archer unit and instead get stuck.
Well, I think they should be able to charge through archers. I think they should be able to do that.
If they charge through archers and kill them with the current mechanic, how it works, they would just kill them entirely, or kill none of them. Which I want to keep the fact that they charge through archers, right, and then don't get stuck, but they kill a portion of them.
Yeah, like kill a portion of them, but
so the overall damage stays the same, right?
Yes, but he loses units. Yeah, like the archer uses units. Yeah.
So I agree. Just connect the two statistics: charge impact with charge damage. Also charge deflect, but those are already connected. Just roll with that. What do you guys think? Astolfo?
I like.
I mean, on
or
one
any
hand,
other
I like
issues with charges that you have?
I do. I have one issue, and I think like I was a big fan of countercharging, especially I used to main Germanicus, so countercharging cavalry and knowing how the charge mechanics were, giving that huge advantage. I really like that. I really like the charge being based on momentum rather than some arbitrary stats because it results in situations where the result just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like heavy infantry turning on the spot, charging for half a second, and winning the charge against cavalry that was charging for
exactly
half a minute.
Exactly. Yes. So I think momentum really solves that because what do we want from a charge? We want it to be, the unit's charge ability, its mass, and its speed to be included. So we can just modify the momentum values. There can be
just to clarify, mass equals charge impact essentially.
Yes, there we go. We can do it a lot like that. Mass equals charge impact. Multiply that by speed equals to amount of damage you're going to deal to the units. Now, it might require a bit of balancing when it comes to charging full, like entire units, because the first guy you would hit in a charge would almost get disintegrated, while the next one would take a lot less damage. But I think such mechanic is already in the game, so just make it based on momentum, because with your heavy infantry, those guys are heavy, so with proper speeding up, they should be able to outcharge a cavalry that has just started charging. They should take damage, but probably deal more damage to the enemy because they have won that charge, so to speak. Like, winning a charge was not a clear-cut thing back in the day, and I kind of liked it.
Yeah, I think there were some patch notes within which they described that. Well, there was a patch where they reworked. They added the charge impact and deflect, or maybe reworked them because they were there before but kind of hidden. I don't remember the exact details.
Disclose how it worked, basically.
There was a charge rework patch, essentially. Just like there was morale rework patch and all the other patches, like range and friendly fire rework 3.1. So anyway, they did describe that they want to do that. Like, if you charge earlier, that is important. If your unit charges from being stationary or it charges from being, full speed, that also matters. That's how they described it, but it doesn't feel that way in the game itself. How it feels in the game itself is that charge impact is all that matters. And the speed factor, you just don't feel it.
It doesn't matter at all. The speed factor doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, it should. I mean, the developers
should,
claimed that it does. You just don't see it, or it just doesn't work.
That would be a unintended nerf to Boudica, though, so they might want to change ambush if they do that, because she loses movement speed.
Well, it's like, I think what they meant is like, according to your, how to say it, like the percentage difference between your normal movement speed and what you actually have. Like, it doesn't really matter if you start with low movement speed, if your like maximum movement speed is low.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. I was just saying in that specific scenario, maybe like tone down the like movement speed debuff on ambush or something then.
Yeah,
basically, speed should matter more, charging earlier should matter more, and charge impact should matter less. That is, I think, our overall conclusion to that.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think
and
like
that charges, charge impact and charge damage should be connected rather than disconnected.
Mm-hmm. But I still think, like, for example, barbarians, I mean, they're pretty fast, so their charge would be stronger as well, or like pretty strong as well. But they don't have much mass.
Yes, so their momentum, their final impact is not as high. So that all speaks.
I mean, as it is right now, like, barbarian charge absolutely sucks, apart from Boudica Fury, right? And
yes, definitely.
That is the exception. But all the other just barbarian infantry charging in the back of Roman infantry. So let's say Roman infantry is already engaged, right? It's fighting, it's stationary, and you charge barbarian infantry straight up the Roman's ass. And that
it
charge
doesn't do any damage.
Yeah, that charge doesn't do any damage.
I like it though. For me, honestly, I like it.
It's an infantry charge in your ass while you're engaged. You outplay the opponent. Yes, you get the reflank, you get all the bonuses other than that, but the charge itself should also deal some damage. especially
yeah,
if it's
but
straight in the back.
As long as you route them, you get the damage either way.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Like barbarians are meant
As
to
long
route
as you
enemies, so
route
the
it, but-
charge is pretty
Yes,
low
but a
in
charge
damage.
in the ass should be a charge in the ass, and it should deal damage. Just like ranged units shooting you in the ass should deal more damage than just AP.
Yeah, yeah.
Even
But I
if,
don't
even
think, like, it
if
should
you're
be
Roman
absorbed.
infantry, even if you're Roman infantry, if I shoot you in the back, even with a slinger, you should take a little bit more than just AP.
You know,
Yeah.
that can also
Oh,
be
yeah.
fixed within
Totally.
the purview of our suggested fix,
Yeah.
which would be the momentum. So the way the charge damage can be calculated
Yeah,
is
I mean
through
that's
the
what we were
difference-
talking about in the first
Yeah.
place.
is through the difference between the momentum of the units. That way, if a unit was not moving and it's back turned, yeah, that's going to do a lot of damage. But still, if the unit is heavy, it would logically would not do as much damage. So I think that just satisfies everybody, and
But
that's
isn't
sort
it
of how
like-
it works.
But shouldn't then, for example, if the Roman infantry is moving away from you and you charging him in the ass, shouldn't your charge deal less damage then because
No.
he's moving away and so the relative
Yeah, I
movement
mean it's
speed is less?
basic physics lesson,
Yeah.
basic formula.
No. Here's why.
Yes,
Here's
it's
why.
about the
What you are
vector
forgetting-
in which you're moving, and speed and mass. That's literally impact
Yeah.
formula.
Yeah,
Here is
yeah.
why. Yes, impact formula, but impact formula accounts for singular entities. We are not
Yeah.
talking about singular entities. So the men in the back will take that damage, and they should take that high damage because they're getting stabbed in the back with a giant foxes, so that will probably hurt.
Yeah.
But the men who did manage to get away will not take that damage.
I mean that's how
Overall
it is
result-
because they don't even get touched in the first place.
Mhm. There you go. So the
I mean,
calculation
we
is the
never
same.
said it
There
isn't
is
the
no
case,
problem to
Arkinan,
give
so
up.
I don't know what you are arguing here.
What I'm getting here is that specific case is not an exception to the rule here. It will work during the implementation.
That's true.
Also, I wasn't giving you a situation where they're running away; they're just literally stationary, right?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
the case of stationary, I'm pretty much on your side. Yeah.
But I don't think that, like, for example, barbarian units should be able to charge deep into the Roman infantry unit from the back.
Correct.
Yeah, but just
Yep.
deal
Yeah.
any damage. at
Yeah,
all.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah,
that,
yeah.
that charge in
okay.
the back literally just tickles them, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it should take out the back flank.
Yeah, I remember. I think it's even in the Akram's video, like 10 tips you should know before playing Arena, something like that. I don't remember the exact title, but if you Google that, it's on like official Total War Arena channel, which I provided a clip of to him. Where at Thermopylae, I go into forest as barbarians, and there is an enemy pike unit. So I do what barbarians do, right, or what they actually do instead of what they're supposed to do. I have a friendly player occupying the pikes from the front, and I just take my 2 units, one flanks from the left or right, left, and the other flanks from the rear, instant route, and then I deal the damage. But I also charged, and the charge damage was literally just single digit numbers. And only after the routed I started dealing the real damage.
Yeah.
Which is you completely rely on the route. But if you don't route, the charge itself doesn't deal any damage, and then in melee they just turn around and start fighting you normally, which you also lose because you're light infantry versus heavy infantry. So that charge absolutely should deal more damage. Also, in terms of like infantry versus infantry engagements, where let's say you even have 2 Germanicus just charging head on each other, same unit stage, same stats, same everything. Right. So what happens right now? They both charge, they both take damage. And then the few first rows just entangle each other. And then if you want to disengage, you suffer a huge penalty for trying to pull out, because you have you're few rows deep into the enemy formation, and then as you're retreating, you're losing all of that pretty much, because they quickly get cut down. If you were to implement the new charge mechanics with charge impact and charge damage being lowered as you go and higher at the beginning, you would just kill off maybe the first few rows, depending on the units, obviously, right? So maybe Germanicus wouldn't be the case, but some other combination it would. So then you have overall less entanglement and less punishment for pulling back. And that's just a question whether you want that or not. I'm not saying either is better than the other. It's just which you want, and as a developer, which you think is better.
To be honest, like if you charge someone and you knock the units to the ground and you walk over them and then they stand up again, that's like not really what's happening in real life. Like you're gonna stab those guys on the ground and then they're dead. You know, they're not gonna stand up again if you charge them.
There's actually an anecdote about that back from Steam when I was playing Artillery. We literally just started playing the game, right? So we had no idea how things work. So there was, I think, an enemy testudo. I shot it with like burning coal consumable for my artillery. It has an explosion effect. It literally knocked down the entire testudo down. So everybody was on the ground. So I tell my friend who was playing cavalry, I think on Alexander even in Wedge, I was like, yo, go quickly charge him. He's knocked down, right? You're gonna deal a lot of damage. He's okay, yeah. Because once he gets up, his charge would just get stuck in the testudo, right? But while he's on the ground, it's like, hey, you're just gonna run him over and deal the damage. And he just runs over, nothing happens. I was like, what the hell just happened? You literally trampled over him and nothing happened. So I guess that's also kind of an issue with soldiers on the ground being invulnerable to damage.
It's like counterintuitive, like for a new player.
Yeah, I mean,
once you know that only elephants can trample down enemies, then yeah, it's fine. But like the first couple of moments, it's like, what the fuck is going on?
I mean, they trample on them whether they're standing or laying on the ground anyway, so that doesn't really matter. There was a ability on Miltiades for a while that was replaced later on by break ranks. I think it was called Slaughter. So the general idea was that you charge, and then you use Slaughter on those units that are knocked down. Also, the first general idea was on Knane. That ability was on Knane originally. So you were supposed to charge with cavalry as Knane, with her own charge, and then kill them off as cavalry. But then that ability made it onto Miltiades after the wargaming transition. But it was shit. People wanted, I liked Miltiades for his unique playstyle of being fast dude with phalanx, right? And back then it was drop shields, which probably wasn't ideal because it was, you drop shields and then you have to commit 100% to that playstyle, right? Well, now it is just break ranks and you can switch freely between being in break ranks, phalanx, or normal.
I still enjoyed that idea though.
Yeah, I really like drop shields as well, yeah. But I think break ranks is better. Maybe the only thing I would change is give it some kind of a bigger cooldown. So once you press that break ranks, if you fuck up, right, you're locked into that break ranks for, let's say, half a minute.
I think 30 seconds is a bit long because you have to break ranks to charge. I mean,
it's
damage.
Just an example. Make it 5-10 seconds, whatever. Just make it some cooldown. Right now, I think there isn't any. Right, you just switch it on and off, or it's so short that you don't even notice it.
Yeah. True.
Same thing as we discussed with pike phalanx, where pike phalanx you have 6 seconds window. It's too short. It's too easy for the pike player, too hard for the player that tries to outmaneuver him. Okay, so that's charge mechanics.